Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of My Story to the World. I got the big t shirt this time. And now, today, I have a special guest with me who has some very unique stories to share. And I will let him do the introductions himself. I have Rick here. Please, Rick, introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Rick, and I hope Beast didn't build this up too much. I'm not that unique. I'm just kind of a regular guy. But um, the background is I was born in Saskatchewan in Canada, and I was a farm boy, and grew up there on the farm, and then married a Calgary girl, and moved to the city, and so I've been here for quite a few years now. So and two daughters, um, four grandkids. So we're just living life here. So that's the
Right.
high level.
Nice. Oh, Rick, amazing. Sorry, Rick. When did you move to Calgary?
In 1983,
Wow.
1980, yeah.
That's amazing. So you've been in Calgary ever since. How has the city changed for you since then? I'm sure there's such a difference between when you moved and how it is right now.
Well, it's I'm kind of versatile, and it seemed to be the thing to do at the time. We were living on the farm after I was married, and then in the winter time there was not too much happening. We were mainly grain farmers, so we moved back to the city just for the winter time. And the long and short of it was, my wife Sharon, they asked her to go back to what she was working at before, and I got a job with Safeway, and we just made the adjustment. So it was fairly smooth, you know.
That's great. Wow. So I was asking, has the city changed a lot or not too much between when you moved and right now?
Oh, the
Or
city, oh, it's got incredibly bigger and more people and more industries. Yeah, it's grown significantly. Yes, yes.
that's great. So which story from your life are you going to share? Because I'm ready to hear. Any story from your life that you'd like to share that has a lesson that you think people would learn from?
Well, I think as you get older, you look back on things. There's a lot of details of people's life, but if you look back and look at a big picture, I think probably one of the big things is that we experienced death in the family. Not that it's necessarily more than anybody else's, but it teaches you a lot. You learn things from it. Um, in 1979, my brother drowned. I was about 20 at the time, and he drowned in a pool, and I was the one that noticed him missing, and then went into the pool and pulled him up again, but he had passed away. And then um, 6 years later, my mom passed, and she had had cancer, and she had five when she was first uh, diagnosed. She had five little ones, five little children, and but the thing about that, lucky, she was able to raise all the children, and they moved to Vancouver, moved to city, and she passed away back in 1985. And then 6 years ago, my dad passed. I mean, I understand life is like that, or death is like that, and everyone has it, but it kind of defines a lot of things, how you think, your basic thoughts and your character and what you think, and how you live through life. So
Your brother that you spoke about, was he your younger or older brother? You
yeah,
said you have five siblings.
yeah, he was a year and a half younger than I was. Yeah, but it was,
So
it worked out fine. My parents were, a strong faith, and they looked at the big picture. We're here for 50, 60, 70 years if we're lucky. So, and time and life is a lot longer than that. So you have a piece of time you're allocated, and it's how you think about that, I think, that defines how you are.
And could you be a little more specific? You said it defines how you are, but I just wanted you to maybe throw more light on that. That it
Okay.
helped you put things in. Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the things when we were young, we traveled a lot. I remember as really small being at the Atlantic Ocean. We'd driven from Saskatchewan for things were a lot different then. Hotels were like $8 a night and things like that. But that's changed since then. So over the years, we'd visit the oceans, and you'd visit Saskatchewan. It's flat, and and you look at creation things like, you lay on your back at night watching the stars, if you're away from the lights, and you're kind of filled with a sense of awe. And same with the ocean, as far as you can see, it's just kind of overwhelming. Or also on a beach where the waves, come relentlessly. Or even last week we went to the mountains again, and you're always amazed, and you kind of feel kind of small. It's not a bad feeling. It's kind of good, because I think we all as human beings were kind of faced with the fact, when you think of creation and all the amazing things about it, it doesn't matter your background, or your language, or your country. I believe there's that about it, everything. And you look at it and you think this is amazing, but then there's part of you that's kind of drawn, where did it all come from? Did it just happen? So there's the two pieces. There's You see creation, and then there's the option to think of the creator. So this didn't all happen. It's too finely tuned for it just to happen. For example, you think of your human body. I've kept track of my heartbeats, and I'm up at about 2 billion. So you just you just kind of do your math on the calculator. So I've had about 2 billion heartbeats, and it's something that you have to. It just happens. You can't stop it or start it. So we've all been in this room for, I don't know, 5 or 10 minutes, and we breathed, and several hundred heartbeats. We don't even think about it. Lots of blood going through you. So it makes you very humble, I think, and just aware. Look, we're not really in control as much as we think about. So that's basically, and it goes back to the fundamental thing. It is There's the creation there, and there's the creator. So what do we focus on? The the temp. You look at all the things around you, and all the amazing things, and you think of, this is amazing. But the minute you turn to, like, you know a greater source, or a creator, or God, you think, if I worship God instead of the creation, then I'm accountable. So it's almost easier just to ignore that, and then just live the way I like. But when you don't have your foundation with a relationship with the creator, then you're never settled. You just Things change, you don't understand. But when you deal with a creator, a God that you trust, and God is, we're taught that is God is basically good. He knows stuff. Like I thought I knew quite a bit when I was a teenager, and I guess like most teenage boys, I knew most things. But as time goes on, you're aware. Look, it's too big. You can't understand it. Even like your human body, my 2 billion beats. It's too big. So for me, I just focused. Okay, we'll go with this. God is big. He understands a lot of stuff I don't understand. A lot of hard things. A lot of things that aren't fair. You know, life is like that. But from the uncertainty of just looking at the creation to changing your focus to a relationship with the creator, then all of a sudden you've got peace. I don't know. I don't know I don't know what's going to happen. I I can't predict it. All that sort of stuff. But being able to look back on life is, yeah, I think it's easier when you get older. You see how things work out. Um, with my brother, it was a hard time, tragic time. Um, but life goes on, and he had a relationship with God, and so there was that piece about him. Look, as far as eternity goes, he's good. And then my parents were very good. They're good folks, and they kept me guided. And then just on that, there's that, and then it's interesting looking back because my mother's been gone close to 40 years now, but you distinctly remember her passing. She was in the hospital in Vancouver, and I was going out to see her, and it wasn't going to be long, and she hated to say goodbye. She's, but I remember leaving the leaving the hospital room, and she just gave me a hug and said, "We'll see you in heaven, son." And that was the last thing I remember, or that's the last conversation we had. But recently, when my dad passed, 6 or 7 years ago, it's exactly the same situation, same hospital. And I I was leaving, you're kind of a little bit upset. And he said, "Don't fret." Like that's something my dad said to me for 50 years. You're upset. Don't fret, don't fret. And he said the same thing to me, "We'll see you in heaven, son." So that kind of defines who you are, I think. Um, so I, I guess when you're like that, you got nothing to prove, nothing to hide, nothing to lose. So, but life is good. There's a lot of joy, and you don't understand things, but the end game is good. So, so that kind of is the confidence. It can't answer a lot of questions, a lot of tough questions, but I guess I don't feel the need to.
Wow, I wanted to ask you, how about like some people might have questions for you, Rick. They might be like, how can I or is there a different do you think like why do some people live longer or some people live like you mentioned your mom was over 40 years and then your dad was just recently. Do you think there's a reason? And for you, how old are you yourself right now?
Um, 67.
You're 67. So, I mean, your mom, was she up to 60 when she passed?
She was early 50, I think.
Yeah. So,
She
yeah.
wasn't
So,
the
how do we, have you hacked into the secrets of living, staying around longer? Or what do you think? What are your thoughts on that?
well. I guess with regards to my mom, she lived long enough to raise her family, and then so when my dad remarried, and that was good because I don't know, he loved people. He needed to, so that worked out. So he was married to he was married to my stepmother for over 30 years. So things have worked out because um as far as living long, I mean you have your time, and I think it's the way how you think and a relationship with eternity, or that life is, because it's in our hearts. We know something's bigger than us, if we're honest. Then if you embrace it, like fortunately I was able to do, then you're confident. You don't have to prove anything. You just keep on living and enjoy life.
But what? How about like, do you like? Some people say, "Oh, I work out like 3 times a week," or "I eat only, I don't know, I have a specific diet that I stick to," or something like that. Do you have any of those things that you do?
Oh, I'm not very regulated. I like to walk. I like to keep active, but I don't focus on eat anything basically not healthy as far as I know, and so it's not something that bothers me very much. Like I don't try not play in the traffic and step in front of buses and that, but you have to be careful, so so
And
it's a
so,
thing.
what are some of, if someone had like a question for you, like what are some of the, what's one what are some of the things that have kept you regulated, that have kept you focused? I know you've shared some about your faith, but I mean, like, what are some of the things that keeps you, um how do I say, that keeps you going or keeps you motivated?
Um, I've been married to Sharon for 4 years, and she's very stabilizing, and she she'll let me know if something needs to be changed, and it's helpful. You don't that sort of stuff. It's a stability, with that, and then with it, when your children are there and they grow up, that keeps you focused. You raise the kids. They're hard to live with because they're immature, but then I guess that's part of growing up. So you just you just let it happen, and the time passage is important. And I'll give you an example. Like I don't know if you're familiar with a larva that over time turns into a beautiful butterfly. And I've been able to watch the process, and it takes hours for it to happen. But you watch it, it's just this beautiful butterfly struggling to get out. And we as human beings want to bypass all the hard stuff. We, but if you're to take a knife and cut that butterfly out, it wouldn't last because it hasn't gone through the hard stuff to develop it. And that's the passage of time. And so you wanna we're focused on having things fixed right away, but patience. And looking back on it, it goes so fast, but when you're going through it, especially when there's difficult times, it takes a long time. So looking back, you're confident. Look, it's gonna work out okay. Yeah. So
What do you think young people in your time when you were in your 20s knew that you think you wish young people now in the 2024, this is 2024, you wish they would know that would help them? Because I know that
that's
as time advances, we feel we have done a lot. We've gone to the moon. We have devices like right now, the platform I'm speaking with you on. Like we've really advanced, but sometimes I feel like we've lost some human relationship. But I'm not sure. But what do you think about that, or what are your thoughts on that?
well, and the family is key, and one of the reason I say that is because I volunteer at a detention center, and there's a lot of usually young men. They're in for doing crimes, and almost all of them, the the dad was not around, so the mom had to do a lot of stuff. So you kind of need them both. I mean, I understand life happens and that's not always possible, but generally, you need because women and men think different, and so you need kind of the balance. And so I don't know how women think, but I know it's different, and so you need need the balance and the influence uh, for the children. They need that guidance, and that's a general rule. It doesn't always work, but it's just interesting that almost all of the families that I get to know the guys a little bit was the home, wasn't stable, or one parent was missing, or two parents missing sometimes. So the simplicity of the home and the parents and the family is, I don't know whether it's diminished in my time, and possibly has, but I just noticed the ones that did have the family home and the ones that didn't. So so the family is pretty key, and I'm not sure the statistics, but I've seen both sides. So,
So, if you were to look back in your life, is there anything you would have done better or redone, or something you wish you had, that kind of thing? Like, is there any of those moments or something like that?
well, I guess there is. I don't dwell on it or you go crazy, I guess. But I I think as the teenage years are pretty important because you're growing and learning, and I have a lot of opinions, and I think of some things that I'd tell someone when I was a teenager. It's kind of silly now you're looking back on it, but I guess that's part of growing up. I didn't know quite as much as I thought I did. So I think just, you know um, the family structure is so important because it just prepares the guidelines and the support, and you kind of need it. And like even other countries and cultures, a lot of the bigger families together, grandparents, and a lot of that is so good too. So when it's down to maybe one parent, its own potential it's not as good. But you know, if you're faith based and Christian family, well, will help you through it. Just trust them, because there's a lot you can't change, really. Most things you can't change. So you look back and you see a plan, how it's worked out. You see some of the people that have been through. You talk to people have been through very, very difficult times, and some of them are the kindest, gentlest people. So life with its hard things will mold and shape you for good if you let it.
And then you mentioned being married to your wife for a long time. What's the secret? Because nowadays we see people, like, I mean, like, separation and divorce is on the rise, or even people don't even want to commit to a long-term relationship like that. So my question is in two forms. How did you know she was the one for you? Number one. And number two, how were you able to stay with her this long? Did it ever drive you crazy? Like, what? I know. But yeah.
And I I guess they challenge um the couples challenge each other in a good way. Um if you're going the same way, it helps. If you're same goals, and like she came from a strong family too, and the faith-based um life. And I don't know, that's a good question. I guess everybody talks about it. I just it's been good. I mean, you learn a lot of things, but yet you think so completely different, but it's good. It keeps you balanced, I think. It's just the
So you said she was a city girl and you were on the farm. How did you two meet? In the city, or she came back to visit, or how?
Well, it's kind of interesting because her grandmother and my grandmother were good buddies before we even knew each other. So um, when I worked on the farm, I'd come to the city in the winter time because there was there's a church with lots of young people, and then I'd either work in the city for 3 or 4 months over the winter, or there was some volunteer organizations that were developing, so I'd go and work there. Well, they wouldn't pay you, but they'd feed you, and it was a good time. I enjoyed it. It's when you're a teenager, early 20s, you don't you like to enjoy things, enjoy people. So that's what I did. So I met her in Calgary, and you just kind of know. It's I'll tell her it's her eyes. She has dancing eyes, so I guess that's held me there for 45 years. So her eyes are still dancing.
Oh, that's so sweet. Oh wow. I'll make a note of that. Make sure you get dancing eyes. Oh, but that's great. That's great. And then so how has life changed for you from training children to them being grown up to them having children of their own?
Well, it's good because you relax a little more, I think. With the children, I remember we had two daughters, and I remember you'd have to be doing stuff, and you'd hold them on your hip, and you'd be working with your hand and all that sort of stuff. And but they'd want to talk. Little girls wanted to talk to you, so they grab your when you weren't paying attention, they just grab your cheek and pull you around so you're looking them in their eyes, then talk to you. So now with the grandkids, you do that a little more. They don't usually have to grab your face to make you concentrate. So that's good. And it's a little bit different. I don't know whether parents are more strict or not. I remember my dad asking me when I was 80 years old if when he was 80 years old if they were too hard on us. And I said I don't know, I guess so, but we've got our own kids now. You kind of do what you have to do. So you don't I don't hold any grudges or anything. So they did what they needed to do, and that's kind of what we do. So
Wow, thank you so much. Rick, so is there on the last note, is there any advice you have for anyone watching that you think, yes, I've learned this over the years, and I think the earlier you learn this, the better it will be for you. So, is there any like final note to conclude that you want to share?
well, it goes back to I think it goes back very fundamentally to your relationship with the creator. If embrace it. There is, you know, if we're really honest, we embrace, okay, there's something bigger than you and I. And to go on without that stability and without that foundation, for me, it's just very unsettling. You're too restless. So once you establish your relationship with God and then just kind of okay, God, you're in control, then it's just different. And you got to keep that or that relationship as well. When you have that confidence, especially looking back, you see how things are very, very difficult. Everybody has that, but you see how it sorts itself out. And even things that haven't sorted itself out, as time goes on, in the big picture, like the eternity picture, everything's going to be good. If but it's fundamentally and foundationally the relationship with the creator that you have.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much, Rick. Thank you so much. It's been a wonderful conversation. So glad to have had you today. And thanks for everything you shared. And for those watching, I am hoping you picked one lesson or two. I know I did. And until we see on another episode of My Story to the World, where we take stories from people who have had lots of life experiences and want to share with us. It's bye bye from me. Thank you so much, Rick. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much.
But your love won't give up.